It's the second in the series of webinars, which is run by the European City Network and as part of the Network of Towns project. And this is initiated by the European Capital of Democracy. We are a non-profit organization which was founded by the Innovation in Politics Institute. And we have a network of partners in 20 European countries and beyond. I just want to introduce our good friend and colleague from the City of Barcelona, Toni Sanchez, and she will make the introduction.
Good morning to everyone. My name is Toni Sanchez, as Laura has introduced to me. I work for the Barcelona City Council. Welcome to the second webinar hosted by the City of Barcelona. So today's webinar is about data-driven policies, and I would like to introduce to my colleague Pau Balcells, who is the program manager from Barcelona Municipality Data Office, and he's going to share the experience of Barcelona in transitioning to a data-driven public organization. He'll talk about the beginning of the process, also the strategies for demonstrating effectiveness, and how roadblocks can be identified. So Pau, welcome to the webinar. Thanks for being here, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Toni and Laura, for the introductions and also for inviting us to join this network of cities, which is always a pleasure to be here and to hear from each other and try to learn from everyone. I have to say that we are, as a city and concrete the municipal office, in a way to deal with this transformation. So it's an ongoing process, to be honest. So we are not there yet. And I think it's something that we will never reach at the end, okay? Because it's a process that starts but never ends. So especially in this digital area with a lot of transformations in technological terms, but also in ethical terms and in furthermore issues. So to be honest, it's an ongoing process, which is sometimes painful. Well, most of the time it's painful, to be honest. And sometimes it's successful, and sometimes we are very happy to achieve at least a small success, but success at the end of the day. So I will try to share my screen. My presentation will be around 20 minutes approximately, but I think later on there's a floor for everyone of the different people attending the meeting to do some Q&A. So more than happy to share experiences and to answer your questions, your doubts, if I can. Okay. Also, it's important to say that my background is not technological, so I'm not an IT manager at all. I'm more near to data analyst, although I am not a data scientist, I have to say. But I've been dealing with the data office from the Barcelona data office since the very beginning, since the idea of the creation of the data office and setting up the goals of the data offices, the governance model, and so on. Okay, so I will try to share my screen. Okay. Do you see my screen? Okay, excellent. Thanks for confirming. So I have to say that achieving data-driven policies, it's really a long way. And I have to say, to be honest, that nowadays, I think that we are starting to make data-driven policies a reality. So just at the very, very starting point, we are more happy saying that we are achieving in specific areas at the city council, making data-driven actions or activities a reality and planning more than policies, to be honest. Although I think that after 4 intensive years, we are now getting the real attention of politics into the data-driven options to become policies. So first of all, okay, well, this is the usual sketch that technology is there. So there is no time for us, and there is no option that to join on board with technology to avoid losing democracy. So citizens will not understand that nowadays we are not using the capabilities that the data and the different technology allows to implement actions, strategies, policies. It makes no sense that nowadays, as an example, Vodafone or any other telecom company is capable to know how many people is in a specific place in the city, and we, as a managers of the city, we just know that roughly there will be between 20,000 and 40,000 people there. So, and then it appears Vodafone that say, no, there is 25,231. So this is a reality nowadays. So we do not have another option than to confront this reality and to jump on board. So, well, when this appears, the European Union, and then there's the usual debate. So, okay, let's go for the, let's say, the North American way of dealing with data. So trading business. There's the opposite side, that it's, of course, the Chinese model, quite obscure and centric, and we are in the middle. So I like this analogy that I have been listening from some different colleagues around the City Hall, but also in other cities or in other countries, that moving from the usual data as a new oil, instead of that, using data as a new soil. So it's a place where things can grow from data, projects, policies, activities, realities. So let's make this a reality. Let's adopt this model as a European cities. And this is what we from Barcelona, we try to push at the different levels, policy, technological, and also managing levels, making data as the soil where the new policies, the new activities, the new programs need to flourish and also be evaluated from that. Okay, then appears this big, plenty of buzzwords related to data, which are quite spooky and scary. Analytics, big data, GDPR, and so on. But as has been already said, there is no option. We cannot skip, look for another direction or another way of doing things. No, we need to jump on board. As usual, well, the public sector is a little bit slow in this kind of big changes, but we need to push forward to still providing services to the citizens, the usual services, but in a more efficient way, new services, maybe sometimes new services or more focused services to allow citizens to be happy with the city council, and to allow that citizens will be able to reach their goal, their individual goals, but also their communal goals. So although it's spooky, it's scary, we need to be there. So then appear the different challenges around data. We have some challenges that usually becomes internally, and the first one usually it's GDPR. Everyone, when you talk about data, especially in the public sector, it's scared about GDPR, personal data, and so on. To be honest, from our perspective, this is not an issue. Most of the cases, we do not need personal data. Of course, in some specific cases, like social services, when you need to give a grant to a specific family for a specific action, yeah, of course, you need personal data from this citizen. But this is less of the cases. Most of the cases, when we are providing services, urban planning, mobility, I don't know, educational services in a broad scope, cultural services, and so on, we do not need personal data. We need statistic data, which of course can be focused in a specific group of persons, a specific group of people, which will be quite focused, but this does not mean a GDPR problem, because we are not dealing with personal data. So this is something that you need to write in stone, and it's something that you need to be really clear about, if you want to become a data-driven organization. Because if not, if you are scared about GDPR and personal data, our vision is that you will not move forward, okay? Second topic for us, this has nothing to do with IT. Data is a complete different business from the usual information and technology services. Of course, it's linked. Of course, we use hardware, computing systems, and so on. But the business is completely different. So it's something that you need to debate internally at your city hall or at your organization, saying that you need specific people knowing about the data business to deal with it. It's not people from IT moving towards data. No, because the skills are completely different. Third thing, we are not talking about most of the cases about big data. Okay, big data is a buzzword, but to be honest, and Barcelona has, I think it's 1,700,000 people as a city, 700,000 people, sorry, as a city. So it's quite a big city. But even though it is a big city and with a lot of citizens, we are not talking about most of the cases big data. Big data it's played by Google, by Amazon, and some other actors. But we are not playing with that most of the cases. Just some cases when we talk about, I don't know, sensors in terms of weather sensors, wind, air, pollution, and so on, that, okay, in this case, maybe we receive a lot of data from that. But usually we don't need supercomputing centers to run our processes. And last but not least is focus on one of the main tools that we have internally to get data, okay, which is procurement. Procurement, it's our tool to get data from from services provided by our suppliers. Okay, our providers are collecting a lot of data about the services that they perform, but also about the city that is there, and they are not using this data, or sometimes yes, but it's not their data, it's citizens' data, and therefore this data needs to come into the city council as a raw data to be managed, if possible, or at least to be there to be used in specific cases. So it's a big tool that you need to be aware of. Then, if you move into this, appear the external challenges. GDPR will come again. So when you talk with a provider or with a partner, first thing on the table will be GDPR. It is not an issue. Okay, I will not repeat myself. Then appears the trade secret. The company that is providing the services says, no, I cannot provide you this data because it will jeopardize my business and so on. Say, sorry, this is citizens' data. Of course, I do not want to know how many profit are you doing or how many, which is your turnover and so on. But I need the data that you are collecting, providing the services that you are required to be provided through a tender, okay? And then at the end, the operational discussion. Of course, there are some costs related of this transfer of data and this management of data, okay, but this is the usual operational discussion as has always been. Okay, once established there, I will talk about a little bit about the municipal office. When it was created, of course, there was some pillars that were defined. This is more, let's say, in a political way of seeing things, okay? So this is the case of Barcelona that can apply to other cities in Europe. It will depend also on the political will, but for us, it's the main pillars that were created in, I think, in February, officially in February 2018. But nowadays, although the city council and the political view of the city council, the party has changed and so on, are still there. And I think that they are quite transversal to the different politic partners, parties. So it's easy to be defended, especially in the European context. So first of all, to see data as an infrastructure, so data really as a soil, something that we need there. to provide more effective, more equity services to the citizens. The second point, it's very clear and no one can debate to have a debate around that. It's create data-driven projects. Everyone agreed that, although little of the cases are put it into practice. The third one's maybe this is the more political vision, the data commons. So this way of sharing data between the public sector, the research sector, and citizens to promote this. So let's say data for good. Okay, you can use. The fourth point is data ethics, which again, it is clear and it's in every politician's mouth nowadays, especially when we talk about AI. Okay. And last but not least, when we talk about citizens' digital or data rights or digital rights, okay, which it's something that needs to be taken into account, not that the digital floor and the let's say the reality floor, it's quite mixed and working together. Then we establish our goals, okay? First of all, you have to understand that the Barcelona City Council has, I think, around 15,000 workers. So there's a lot of different services, a lot of different areas. Each area and each service has their own history and their own specific goals and their own specific tools, IT infrastructure, and so on. So we decided not to go for a central model, say no, from now on, all the data goes to the municipal office and we are the key masters and the one locking the key, having the key and locking and unlocking the data. That was not making no sense at all, because if not, the city will collapse, we will make the services collapse. So what we decided is that we need to establish this data governance model. So to set up a common vision, a common strategy, and a common understanding of what data means and how to manage data. Of course, our goal is to extend the use of data analytics and enforcing transparency, dissemination, availability, and so on. And the last point is to have this technological alignment with the IT guys, which of course are part of the business, although they are not the experts, to make possible the usage of data. Well, we focus on giving data, adding value to data. So at the end of the day, collecting data but not using it, okay, it's no use at all. So we need to move from the usual, okay, we collect data when we are implementing an action, and after 3 years or 4 years, we do an evaluation about that action, that policy, and see if it works, okay? Nowadays, it's possible to at least evaluate actions in the short term. So when we, I don't know, when we do close a road and make it pedestrian, we are now capable to see if this impacts on the different aspects of this action. So if the businesses around that street have more profit or less, if the citizens use more this pedestrian area to walk around or not, if the pollution decreased or not, and so on. So we need to be capable to provide results, to provide evidence of this action is working or not, if it's working the way that we thought that it was planned, or we have externalities, positive or negative, around this action. And of course, the last step is working with predictive models. So what if, you know? So this is what we are moving towards. More challenges ahead, of course, the usual breaking the silos, which for sure you have been here, you have heard about. Then it's the talent attraction. It's not, you know, the floor in terms of data science is quite broad and it's quite competitive in the private sector. So here we have a really big challenge. Then moving from this vision of long-term strategic plans and evaluation and so on to short-term. Another one is to have this conversation with the big private players, utilities, mobility, real estate, because they are the ones having data that we need to manage the city and to provide services that we are already providing, but in an old-fashioned way. So we need to have these conversations with them, okay, and see how we can cooperate if possible. And last but not least is social awareness and social education, let's say, about the digital floor and the data aspects as well. Nowadays, in the newspapers here in Barcelona, we have a clear case that it's a company that it's collecting, I don't know if the word exists in English, the iris, the print of our eyes in some big shops, and paying in crypto to citizens to collect this data. And this is happening nowadays. And there's a lot of young persons, young guys around 14, 16 years old that were queuing there to collect this crypto and selling this information. So as you see, social awareness, of course, it's important. In terms of talent attraction, because for us, it's quite a topic. We will not have the most talented people for sure, because private sector is paying a lot of money for that. But still there's people there who are willing to doing their work, not only for their own profit. Of course, you need to provide salary and wages, which are competitive, or at least, although in the low area, but competitive. But there's still people looking for work for the common good. So there's possibilities there. And then, which is also the plus that we can offer to them, is enroll them in projects which are really, really transversal. So data projects involves different areas. So you will have a broad scope of the city and the different areas and the different sectors, which is not usual. When you are a new worker in a company and so on, you usually work in your silo and you don't understand the whole business. This is not happening when you deal with data and in a city where you will run through different services. I think I'm quite slow at my presentation, so I will try to speed up a little bit. Then comes the decision time, the decisions that we make in Barcelona from the very beginning. And I have to say that we are quite happy with it, and we have not changed our vision. Is data is a business that nowadays we need to understand as a city workers, as a municipal workers, civil servants. We cannot escape from that, because if not, we are completely lost. Providers will run the city and we will not have any idea of what's going on. So we need to have internal capabilities. Of course, we outsource some because resources are scarce and we cannot have a big group of 200 data analysts internally, but you have to, when possible, keep these resources internal and provide training and training and training. Then the other way is how to tackle with projects. The only way for us is an agile approach. So it's deliver, deliver, deliver. So we do not enroll in long-term projects. We prefer short-term projects, and then do iterations in these projects, and maybe at the end, a short-term project will be working with it during the next 5 years, but always with a short-term vision. For us, it's key, and it's the only way to prove that data is providing evidence and therefore is useful. Third one, it's more, let's say, from a political perspective, up to a certain point, that is using freely open source software. Here, Tony is more expert than me in this area. Okay, but this gave us sovereignty internal, not to be locked up with vendors, and it also allows continuous improvement. And last but not least is co-work. Okay, there is no other options. We are experts in managing data, but we do not know about mobility. We do not know about social services. We do not know about waste collection. So we need to work close with the business unit, because they are the ones expert in the area. They are the ones that needs to set up the questions and do the interpretation of the data and the results. And we need to work with them. And of course, with IT, with technology, to do a nice match with these three components. But again, from the very beginning, as we are working in an agile way, run from perfection. We will never be there. okay? The result will never be better, but at least you will have a better service and you will have a good option, a good evidence of what's going on. Sure, there will be people saying, no, but this is not a 5, it needs to be a 5.5 whatsoever. Okay, but up to now, you only have your instincts, your intuition. Now data is providing you evidence. So please run from perfection. I will skip this because it's internal. And from the very beginning, we decide to go and hands-on work as a driver to prove that the data office needs to be there and it's providing services to the different areas because we see ourselves as a transversal area working with the different services. This is roughly the same. This is the approach that it's the same. The methodology that we apply is the one that I mentioned. And here you have which one is our relationship model with the different departments. So we have the IT department that provides continuous improvement in terms of research, development, and innovation, in terms of the infrastructure, the tools, and automatization. Then we have the business unit that are the ones that guarantees the quality and the continuity of the data, because we try to enroll only in projects that are maybe short-term, but this project will then be transferred to the unit and they will be able to keep it there, to keep it informed with data and to be useful in the long term, okay? So we try to run, when possible, to a specific project, to tackle a specific issue, but okay, you need evidence or data for one specific moment in time, and then it will disappear, this tool, and so on. Okay, so we focus because the resources are scarce. So we try to focus in projects that will have providing benefit in the long term to the units. And we are the ones dealing with the governance, so the strategy around data, looking transversally to the data to breaking the silos and to add value to the different data sets from one area to the other, and so on. For us, which is really, really important, is when we enroll into a project, okay, we need to look for automatization, okay? It makes no sense to deal with projects nowadays which data depends on inputs from people, okay? Of course, we can begin with that, but then we need to move forward into automatization and industrialization. So this project can then be transferred to other areas of the city council, of course, adapted to it, but can be reused. And we always try to link this with open data. So at the end of the day, this evidence that we provide and these data inputs that we have, we try to, when possible, which is most of the cases, to open it to the citizens, to the general public. Then when you start a project, the output must provide, of course, first of all, answer to business units. So if we do a fancy visualization and so on, but at the end of the day, they do not provide any input or any added value to the service, we are wasting time. Sharing knowledge, instruments and solutions, what I mentioned before, we try to transfer this knowledge to other use cases, providing big data or at least mid data capabilities. And for us, also the fourth point is key. We try to move forward. I would prefer, I do not like real-time analysis because most of the cases we do not need real-time, but yes, near real-time. So it means that, well, maybe we don't need data from yesterday to do an action today, but maybe we need data from 1 month ago because the reality changes. So we do prefer this. And then, if possible, start to deal with predictions. Then, as a cities, which opportunities that we have? It has been said that 70% of the population will live in urban areas by 2050. As city coalitions like this one that we are now talking, we can give a push about data and using data within the municipalities and in the public sector, sharing knowledge, so sharing scripts, algorithms, and so on. Here in Barcelona and probably most of the cities, we have academia around us that are dealing with data and have expertise, and they are willing to share their knowledge and their capabilities with us and the other way around. So there's an opportunity there. As mentioned at the very beginning, public procurements. And then there's always this debate between the private discredit and the public transparency. So here with the citizens, we need to make them understand that, okay, if you want to give your data to Google, perfect, but please also give it to us. It makes no sense that you give it to Google, but not to us, okay? So I think, well, I have some examples here, but I think I'm running out of time. So I will leave it here and give more time for Q&As. Thank you.
I would lastly like to thank you for joining us today. The city network itself is made up of 21 cities in 13 European countries. As Tony mentioned, Barcelona is the current European capital of democracy. And later in the year, in autumn, they will hand over the baton to Vienna, who is the next European capital of democracy. The Network of Towns project is co-funded by the European Union. Antwerp, Barcelona, Bologna, Braga, and Cascais will be our partners in creating this series of webinars.